Hi, I'm the environmental director for Passamaquoddy tribe. We're located in Pleasant Point, Maine, and I'm interested in this because I think there's some tribal set aside for us to make this a good effort or a better chance for us to get this much needed work done. So I offered to be the tribe that will submit the grant, and I guess we have another tribal partner too, so that would be good. And
Hmm.
I think for me the deliverable is just to test the tier auditing and how that works out. I don't need it necessarily because in Region 1, we have the state acting as one of the auditors, and then we have the federal government acting as another. So I guess that's showing some uh, independent review. So
Hmm.
that's why I don't need it, but I would still want to try to see, how what's going to be set up by the Morongo band to see if that works, and then share my experience too. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Um, Hi, Mike. Mike is on. Um, Philip, I don't know if you know everybody here, but if you want to introduce yourself, we're happy to have you here.
Yeah, my name's Philip Crevette. I'm a director of environmental services for the Chickasaw Nation. And we just got approved for a Clean Air Act grant. We're actually just got approved this morning for the 10-meter tower to go with our air monitoring unit. So we're going to be ordering that as soon as they get set up as a vendor in our system. So we'll be definitely excited to learn how to utilize QREST and really and be able to manage our data. And also
That's it.
and also work with Christy though, and that's something that, and so I'm really wondering, is Christy, is this what you're going to use for your data as well?
Yes, it is.
Yay. Um, well, that is
And
one of the
I'm
primary purposes of CREST is so you guys can share, reviewing your data, etc. Go ahead, Christy. I'm sorry.
I was just going to introduce myself, Christy
Thank you.
Lawson, Muskogee Creek Nation. I am our air quality project manager.
Great. Well, we're happy to have everybody here. Um, does anybody have any questions or, I mean, I'm not going to ask you guys if you have any concerns because we're all very concerned. Um, but any immediate issues anybody want to bring up? These meetings are for you guys, specifically for you, and learning about your needs and assisting you.
Well, I just have a question, really about the grant itself and what the objectives, what are the objectives of the grant? Is it going to be to continue to maintain the system as it is and just to build on it? Is that the main
Yeah,
thing?
well, let's get into that. Um, So, this is something that Doug Timms and Marvin at Passamaquoddy, Pleasant Point, and Pam and Jessica at the Morongo Band of Mission Indians, and Mike and Chris and I have been working on. We just have to work on it at night and on weekends, but I'm super pumped about it. The first thing I want to say is that I it sounds crazy, but I personally commit to CREST's continuance. And I can say that because it is really relatively inexpensive and we have a very generous open source developer. Doug, since you're there, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Doug Timms. Yep. As Melinda said, I am a developer and the developer of Crest. So we've been working together for a few years to build out Crest, connect it to multiple tribes and with EPA's AQS and Air Now programs. And I think Melinda and I are both equally committed to the long-term success of this tool, regardless of all of the unknowns and that face us in terms of funding and grants and stuff like that. But yeah, we've been working on this for a while and want to continue working on this tool.
Thank you. So that's my first goal of today's meeting, is just to reassure everyone. First of all, we are on the final year of our American Indian Air Quality Training Program grant that ends July 1. And then we have 3 months of a extension. So we're fully funded through the end of September. We plan to apply for the Exchange Network grant, and those grants are typically announced June and July. I don't know how long it takes to disperse the funds. So for $10,000, we are going to make this work eventually. And it may be that we accelerate our plans to move to tribal governance if we don't get the Exchange Network grant. But it is such a valuable tool and fulfills all of what I dreamt of for decades in assisting tribes writing quality assurance project plans, which is that we need to have a system for people to work together, because every one of you does the work of 6 people at the state or county, and you have to be like a good writer, you have to present, and then you have to analyze your data, and you have to work with others to get your data reviewed. So QREST really, it really floats my boat anyway. So eventually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with open source software, but like Python, for example, or R, they have a software foundation. It's a nonprofit, and you can set up different systems for continuing the funding. And whether we have to get that done by September, or whether we can take our time and we got the grant and it'll take 3 years, that's going to happen. So, I mean, even if we totally lose our grant at ITEP and I'm out of a job, I will still work on this, because it's, you know, it's personal for me, actually, to be honest. So can we go over now the goals? So we are applying for an Exchange Network grant, and this would be administered by Marvin Cling. And then basically he would subcontract out directly to Doug Timms, directly to Mike and me and Chris at ITEP, if we still have ITEP, and Morongo Band of Mission Indians. And it's so great that we've got the 2 tribes, coincidentally, at totally other ends of the continent, being willing to work on this and bring what they have learned to share with others. So the first goal is what's called a requirements elicitation, where we work with all of you in meetings and we learn about your data management system and what could work for you best. We would have a lot of Zoom meetings and a meeting every year in person. And the Exchange Network grant covers some travel. As long as the meeting is for the purposes of our project, we can charge travel to the grant. So this would be something that would be done not just by me and Mike and Doug and Marvin and Pam and Jessica at Morongo, but we would actually be hiring people. So we would subcontract also to someone like Christian Kirk at Air Resource Specialists. So it isn't that all these objectives would be done just by us. So that's the first, and that will be ongoing, where we report out to you, we learn about what works, what doesn't, and we end up with a requirements document and a design document. And keep in mind, this is definitely building onto the existing QREST. But that's sort of like an ongoing communication that we would have with you. What I'm super excited about is the extended data review and validation module. You guys know how you can select the records you want to attach AQS null codes to. You have to write a note. And then if you have a separate QA reviewer, they can see what you did and they can look at the notes and they can concur. But we want to expand that. And we'd like to use as a model Morongo Band of Mission Indians because they're doing regulatory monitoring for PM 2.5, which means they've got a continuous PM 2.5 sampler and an FRM sampler that has to have the filters sent to the laboratory, and they're regulatory for ozone. So they're a great model agency for us to learn from. And we would basically hire somebody who would be like an apprentice to Jessica Southard at Morongo, who has put together beautiful, beautiful validation templates and Excel sheets. And what we would be doing would be learning from her and adapting that into more of a one-size-fits-all data validation report and different things that would be part of the QREST data review module. Then what we also want to do is build a community. So because of the way the word community is used, what we're calling it is a quality network of people, experts and newbies, who can work together. So we want to establish a messaging program system in QREST where somebody could post, hey, I'm using a T640. What's the difference? Should I have gotten a T640X, or what data logger do I need? And people could basically have conversations and then choose to make that public if they're providing resources that might be useful for any of the other QREST clients. So that is a fun objective. And Doug, Mike, Chris, just interrupt me. Or if you have any of you have any questions, interrupt me. The next thing is data logger integration. So as you guys know, we are able to connect QREST to Agile loggers, Campbell Scientific loggers, and the old Sutrons and Xenos. Because of the superior quality, I think, of Campbell loggers, what we propose to do is basically buy 10 of them and set up a system. It could be equipment loan, so people just getting started could borrow a data logger. But basically, we would be working with the users of the data loggers to make it a smoother setup, to make QREST easier to set up. And then OpenQuap. So I'm putting OpenQuap, which we really have a good start on, as part of this. So this would be a QREST Quality Network where you could go look at your data, work on your QUAP, talk to somebody else about their QUAP, and ask like, what does this QUAP mean? But it would be a place where you could go look at example texts for QUAPs, all sorts of links to EPA stuff, but a text stitching tool. So you would type in, and then it would stitch that into that section of your QUAP with a lot of ongoing guidance built in. So this would be a whole new feature that is in the QREST umbrella. Then Doug will talk about the next two, which are very important for data sharing, and then making a data standard for the data logger configuration.
Right. Number 6 there is called REST-based APIs for data sharing. So, we have lots of ways that we get data into QREST right now by integrating with different data loggers that are out there, or equipment, or, allowing for manual data import. And, we also send that data out to AQS and AirNow. But one of the tools we have currently in QREST is APIs. So if you've got your data in QREST, you could communicate with those APIs to pull data out. And you could use that if you wanted to integrate the data with your tribal website, or you had other needs to pull that data. So this would be for us to further elaborate on those APIs that we've got, make them more standard, and also document them a lot better than they currently are. So programmers who are out there that want to be able to retrieve data from QREST would be able to go to our documentation site and understand it with sample code to retrieve data using those APIs.
I got a question about that, which that's really neat. You being able to do that. But will you able, like on Air Now, how they model what the air quality is in a given area? I mean, could it pull real-time data and could you remodel certain areas? Because a lot of the communities are rural, they're not modeled, and sometimes maybe in some of these might not be utilized by the state, which I'm going to communicate with the state. I hope it is, but if not, it give us a way to do like Christie, and for sure we're pretty close. We'd probably be able to do that.
I can say for the real-time part, definitely yes. So as soon as QREST gets that data, then that can be available in the APIs, so it can be pretty much up to date. As far as the modeling, Melinda, I don't know if you wanted to say anything to that. I mean, we
Yeah,
can definitely talk and provide that as part of the APIs that we provide.
that's a great question. So right now, you can stream your data to AirNow from QREST and then use the tools in AirNow. One of our objectives as part of the data validation module is to pull in the data from AirNow. So this isn't exactly answering your question, but our plan is, so when you you get a giant spike at your site and you only have your data, it'd be really nice if you could see data from somebody downwind and they also saw a spike at the same time. And so right now there's a really cumbersome system where you can go into AirNow, generate a windrows, find the downwind site that day, and then download their data. And it really takes like half an hour to do that. But what we're proposing to do is actually have a way of communicating. So when you go to the data review, she's got. So when you go to the data review and you're validating your PM10 or your ozone and you look at it, we would have a feature where directly from QREST, it could pull what you've already established as what AirNow calls a buddy site, which is most likely downwind of you. And then you'd be able to stay in QREST to access that data, take a screenshot of it or whatever, and then paste it into your report. But it would be like seamless. Now, that's just the data part of it. In terms of modeling, we don't have that planned right now, but probably what EPA would say, I would imagine, is that AirNow does this already. So get your data to AirNow and then use their tools, but I don't know. So if that's something that you want to see, then what would be awesome is if you would go to QREST or QREST-test, and you can see we have a little link. If you have a suggestion or need assistance, use this form. And we have this form where you can fill out your question or suggestion. And then all of us as QREST admins get that. Honestly, if you just wanted to text your question to me anytime, that I could put it in there for you. But yeah, so right now we do not have that plan to include those sophisticated tools.
Okay, so my question is then, are like you said, the tribe that already has doing the PM 2.5 monitoring, and the other parameter, I don't remember what it was, but is the state utilizing their data in Air Now to have those contour lines in Air Now?
Oh,
Is the
yeah,
state
well, they
utilizing
are. So, well, the state isn't, the tribe. Well, I don't know what, depending on the tribe, but like right now there are 10 tribes, I think, Doug, sending their data from QREST to Air Now. So you could see, where's Arlisia's?
Okay, but
Yeah, so here, go ahead.
my question is this, though. The contour lines that they make on the maps, is that developed by Air Now overall?
Yes.
So okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So conceivably with like APIs, we could pull it back maybe. But right now, so like if Arlicia at White Mountain wants to generate a windrows or something like that, she would be using Air Now. Her data is going into Air Now. Let's see, there's a little windrows. But so basically Air Now is using her data from QREST to generate all the stuff that they generate. They're folding in all the data that they get into these models. Okay, so thank you for that question. And then we have another fun one. Doug is going to talk about the data catalog and standardization of QREST's data logger integration.
So QREST currently integrates with a number of different data loggers and devices like T640s, Xeno loggers, Sutron loggers, Campbell loggers. And when we integrate with a new logger, currently we're just writing some additional custom code to make that work. But when you boil it down, communicating with a data logger or device out there is really just a series of commands that you send to it and you receive something back, and there's this handshaking that occurs. So this line item is to abstract out that portion of QREST on how we communicate with data loggers so that we can better integrate with loggers in the future. So that if there's a new device that we need to integrate with, it's not going to require custom coding so much as configuration that can be done by admins. And as we go through that, we're proposing that not only do we do that, but kind of develop a data catalog or a data standard that others could use out there, and maybe states as well as tribes, on, okay, when you communicate with these devices, what is the standard language? How can that be boiled down? So that's what we propose for this one.
Thank you. And that would be great because it is an example of what the Exchange Network is supposed to be doing, is that we produce tools that other people can use because it's all posted on GitHub. So especially for these two items, 6 and 7, they're like pretty much exactly what the Exchange Network is designed to do. So we're happy about that. And then finally, the last goal is sustainability of the QREST network. So at the beginning, I mentioned software foundations. For open source software, it is a thing to make a software foundation that would basically be able to accept funds and then pay for QREST's needs. What we're hoping is that we get the Exchange Network grant and we could spend 3 years with you developing a tribal governance structure. So we would have a QREST board of directors, and we would have a trickle of funding to continue supporting their meeting and getting together. And we would have a way of paying every month the cloud storage costs and fees. And it would be all done basically in agreement with everybody. So we would have a lot of planning meetings, and then our result, EPA has outputs and outcomes. So outputs would be that we would develop, we'd have a lot of meetings, and we would work to develop documentation. And then at the end of the 3 years, or perhaps sooner, a consensus-built sustainability roadmap. So including like, what have other open source software foundations done, and get a group of people who are willing to work together and basically plan out how this is going to be eventually not part of the TAM Center, but completely governed by tribes who are managing it, and that there's plans for keeping this going. Because of course, we all know that someday AQS is going to change totally. We hope it's going to change a lot. And we're going to have to adjust to that. We're going to have new data loggers, new samplers. And so, QREST is not something that is just going to be done. And also, as your needs evolve, or you see something you'd like QREST to incorporate, we want to be able to have funds ongoing that are able to support those changes and updates. So the Exchange Network grant is due March 27th. I'll put my notes up here for you. today we want to reassure you guys, the primary meeting of today is that despite the insane news, I commit to keeping QREST going, and which is really not too hard because the cloud storage costs and fees are it's less than $10,000 a year. So we're not talking a big pull here. But we are jumping on the Exchange Network grant opportunity to basically apply for a little under $600,000 to do these outputs. Close to $150,000 of that is travel. We understand that I may have worked with some of you for 25 years, but not everyone, and it's important to get together in person and basically work to make QREST really useful now and bulletproof for the future. So the grant application is due March 24th. So Doug and I are meeting on Sundays and at night, texting each other to get this material in a way that suits Passamaquoddy Pleasant Point, fits in with their objectives, and then of course Morongo, and really this is through the generosity of those two tribal nations, because as Marvin said, and as Pam and Jessica have told me, they're fine. They're doing regulatory monitoring. They have a system, but they recognize that this is unusual. Morongo is really well funded compared to a lot of tribal agencies, and then Passamaquoddy Pleasant Point has an unusually great relationship with the state. So they can work together in what's called a primary quality assurance organization, which is when you review one another's data. And eventually, we'd like to see QREST used in that way. It already is being used in that way. There are two informal tribal consortia where you've got the site operator and she gets all the data and does the level 1 review. And then she emails her colleague who also has a monitor in QREST and says, hey, my data is ready to review, makes the data available, and then they review one another's data. We already have two informal such groups, but we want to make it way easier and give people templates and tools that just basically make your jobs a lot faster. So I'm so grateful to Passamaquoddy and Morongo for stepping up, basically just out of sheer generosity. And so Marvin would be the primary grantee, and then Marvin and his colleagues would administer the grant to the rest of us. And that's the only thing I really wanted to talk about today, is to reassure everyone, even if ITEP's funding is completely cut and we're told in September, nope, that's it, no more work at the university, I'm going to continue to work on it, and so is Doug. I mean, obviously I have to probably get some other job part-time so that I could continue to work with you guys on QREST. And I think actually we have a good chance of getting the grant. As Marvin indicated, there's proportions set aside specifically for tribal air monitoring data. And also, right now, the current administration is all about helping business. And the Exchange Network grant program does help business because it all goes to contractors, most of whom are not, unlike Doug, open source contractors. So the program, I think they give away $25 million a grant, and they're 3-year grants. So they have a lot of money to give away. So I'm hoping that because the money in the grant program usually goes to business, that Elon Musk's doggy commission will leave it alone because it's actually good for businesses. So that's all I had prepared to talk with you guys. Does anybody have any questions? I'm also going to have office hours on Thursday, so we could talk specifically then. But if you guys want to discuss this, Okay, yes, there is something. Thank you. At some point before the 24th, letters of support. So a letter just from the highest official you can talk into writing, saying that you support this grant and you support this project, and then we would include those in the whole proposal package. So thank you very much for asking. That is fantastic.
I got a comment. And I was involved in some of the first back in 2012, some of the first exchange grants, and
Mm,
it is closed source, and it was so expensive too. Just even to talk to somebody was like $125 an hour, so you'd have to kind of block that off in 15-minute increments, and then but with that though, we wrote a second exchange grant to do some statistical analysis on some water quality stuff. And I know we've talked. So my first point is I would definitely put that in the grant about the open and closed source. And the thing is, whether it's water quality or air data, it's going to be open source. It's going to go to air now. It's going to be available to the public. So, you're not asking for control, or do you continue running this for money, which I appreciate your passion, Melinda, for sure. But I know you talked about in the past potentially about putting water quality data in this as well. And that would be, I mean, maybe not for this grant since it's already so soon to be due, but that could be the next step for sure to put water quality data into an open source as well, and
mm,
have the tribes be over that in the future, so that way we kind of have control over that. Because right now it's all out, because that money has to keep flowing to these contractors
mhm.
keep using the
I
exchange
know.
network.
I
So
know.
so I don't even see how, saying I've said that in meetings. How is this going to be sustainable long term? And so putting water quality data into that would be very helpful as
Mm.
well. It could be the next step.
So there's no, what is it, WQAMs or something? There's no free version of that?
WQX. Now you can put it in Excel and download it, or but
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, no,
um,
you don't
kind
want
of
to use Excel.
well, kind of the same thing though. Is it's not really it's not systematic, and I think that's things that tribes really need is something to be more systematic, whether it's air quality data or water quality data.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what we want to provide. Because who on earth, when they're doing the work of 6+ people, they're only work there 3 months, can do all the wide variety of tasks, including data analysis, right? So, in addition to managing and validating and reporting the data, what does it mean, right? So, we have some reports in QREST, including a box and whisker chart, which is a great quick way to compare data, but we'd love to expand to both water and then more reports, so involving some more complicated statistics, looking at comparing data sets. Yeah, but the first thing basically I want to focus on is sustainability, making sure that we are going to be here after September 30th, and as far as you guys see, it'll all be seamless. um, so yeah, thank you very much for that. That would be super fun. And again, it's like data is data, right? Here's a number, here's the place you gathered it, and here are the units. And that's about it, because any database can manage any type of data. And then what's really good too, and I know it might be easier for reporting to EPA water quality data, but the direct node to AQS from QREST, enabling you to even see like why some records might have been kicked back from AQS, but to be able to do that all in QREST is such a time saver. So maybe there's something like that that could be done for reporting water data as well. Um, okay. Thank you guys. I don't have anything more. Mike, did you have anything? Oh, Marvin, yes. Wait, you're muted.
Um, yeah, I didn't know you were entertaining possibly working on uh, data for WQX. If that's the case, we do submit data to WQX, and that could be another testing ground for my department. Just to
Yeah.
see if that works, and if it works, then we have two options of submitting water data. I don't know how the water quality staff member feels about using a different system. I know it takes a while where he has to hire a part-time technician to work with them to stage it
Wow.
and then get it uploaded, because his normal duties is like too all over the place, and
Right.
to,
Going out and
to
gathering samples, all the stuff you
yeah,
have to do.
and to have something maybe more easier. I don't know if it's in terms of just being easier, or in terms of if the Excel, or I think they use XLM, I believe. If that's
A,
too
a
um
macro.
yeah, if
XML.
that's too cumbersome, or XLS, I don't know. I have to talk to him, and maybe that could be another way we could test that component too. If things start getting developed, and we need able bodies to test, and I could say, hey, we're looking at this tool. Can you look at it too? And so that could be another deliverable,
Yeah.
just to reassure that things are working as intended, and then that could give him opportunity to share when he's holding his regional trainings, because he's involved with the regional trainings that happen. That would be a good presentation if
Great.
that
Thank you.
was going to be what we're planning to do too.
Hey, guys. So
Hey,
thank you,
Chris.
Marvin, for that information. And sorry that I missed the opening of this meeting, guys. But I do want to also comment on the item that just was, or the item that you guys are talking about, the WQX. I think that's a great idea. The problem that I think that we're probably going to be encountering right now is on our TAM steering committee meetings, we did have an update from OEQPS that the agency is in the process of developing or redoing the AQS, as well as the other data management systems out there that intake that data to a more consistent, updated type of system. And so, again, this is when I first heard this from OEQPS. I shared information with our steering committee that it's vital that the tribes be a part of this process, because as you all are aware, the AQS as well as the WQX and any other data systems were not really developed with tribal programs in mind. The tribes have always been an afterthought in this process, and tribes are those square pegs trying to fit into those round holes with a lot of these current processes. And so those processes, again, are really difficult when it comes to tribes setting up their sites, as well as getting their data into these systems. So that, again, is something that's currently ongoing right now. I don't know what that system is going to look like that's going to be developed, and I don't know what those working groups are looking like right now. We just received this information on the TAM steering committee meeting last fall, I believe. And so it's just in the very initial steps of beginning that process to rebuild those data reporting systems. So again, it's really important for you all to be mindful of this. And if there's an opportunity for you all to take part in those, being a part of that a team that's going to help with building these systems, to stay mindful of that. And for us and the work that we're doing here, I think that would be really beneficial for us to be aware of what's going to be developed, and how to ensure that the work that we do remains relevant to how that new system will work. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Yeah. Doug, that's on us also, right, to keep apprised of what EPA is doing. Karen Schumacher texted that WQX is just as much of a beast as AQS. So sorry, yes, that makes sense. And so at this point, what we can say, and thank you, Chris, is that we will work really hard to keep up to date with EPA. I think that's not going to be that hard, judging from not only what's happening lately, but just the fact that AQS has not changed in 25 years, and EPA is very slow, and they've already hired 200 new hires. So although that is happening, I don't anticipate it to be happening very quickly.
Hey, I did see
just to comment on what Chris said, one thing that, and what Marvin said is one thing that tribes do have an issue with. We're blessed we haven't, within our department, we haven't had it lately, but we do have turnover. And one thing that tribes could utilize that maybe other organizations might not is kind of like you do the data loggers. What, he said he has to train somebody to put the data in, but if you can know what SON they're using and be able to upload that into a system to upload that into whatever new system EPA is going to develop, there's where it would be. That's where the tribes could potentially use that kind of help to know what kind of SON they're using. Upload it, then upload it into WQX.
Yeah, so that would be kind of parallel to what we have now in QREST,
Correct.
where we have like all the different parameter and method and unit codes. And once they get that mapped one time, they could do it over and over again. Is that what you're?
Yes. Like,
Okay.
what kind of SON do you have? You have this one. Okay, then you hit this button. This is how you upload it, and this is how the data is going to look. And this is how, this system, QREST, is going to take that data to be able to upload that into WQX or whatever new system or upgrades they do to it.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your input. Is there anything else? Doug, yay.
Oh, I just see a question about, are you
Oh,
progressing to a mobile app as well? I just wanted
well,
to.
yeah, go ahead. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I do so much work in QREST on my phone. I can like add tribal agencies. So I don't even know what the question is about, but I know I do a lot of QREST work on my phone. Doug can answer technically correctly.
Right. Yeah, so we built QREST so that it can render pretty well on mobile devices. So if you just go to QREST.net and log in on your phone in your browser, you should be able to navigate through the menus and see the screens and do a lot of the things like Melinda said. I don't think it's on our roadmap to really build dedicated iOS and Android apps for QREST just because of the amount of effort required to keep those up to date in the stores. We're lean operation here, so I think we're just focusing on the web app, but making sure that that web app can work on mobile devices.
Thank you.
Hey, Melinda, this is
Oh,
Mike.
hi.
Hey guys, really good information being shared here. I appreciate everybody's input and feedback on this proposal. I know that the maximum narrative is limited to 10 pages in regards to the support letter that tribes may want to provide to this proposal. I'm not sure how that's going to fit in that 10-page narrative. But I do agree that a working template would be nice to send out to tribes that are wanting to provide a letter of support to this proposal. I think that would strengthen the narrative, the proposal. The other thing is my work with QREST is really on the back end with helping tribes connect to QREST through their unique network configurations and setups that they have within their tribal IT departments and also with their data loggers. With the support that's ongoing right now, as Doug had indicated, the data loggers integrating them, it's really all across the board. But if we can somehow standardize everything into one specific logger and maybe like a network configuration that's user friendly, that would be great. You know, I'd like to hear you guys' feedback. I know there's just an array amount of data loggers out there. I heard the Campbell loggers being thrown out there, and they are good. There's like the CR6 that can do a lot. The CR1000X have a lot of communication capabilities, but also able to ingest not only analog but also serial communications and connections, which is really what everybody's using now with the analyzers and the continuous monitors. So I just wanted to put that out there. I like to hear your feedback. If you guys feel free to shoot an email out to me and see what currently works best for you guys, or what you would guys like to see. And I do know there's a lot of older loggers out there, the Xeno, the Sutron. Really would like to see those get phased out and replaced with these newer loggers that hopefully we can acquire through this proposal. So grant. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, after Doug and me and Marvin and Pam and Jessica and Mike and Chris, after we go through and make sure that we all are in agreement, and get like our basic goals and budget set up, then we'll probably send an email out with like just a sentence. Could you please send a letter of support for the QREST project, specifically for the Exchange Network grant? And then we'll just make that font really, really little, Mike, to keep it under 10 pages. Okay, well, that's all I had. Chris, Doug, Mike, anything else we should add? It's nice to see everybody. Hey, Marvin.
Just one more thing. I don't want to take a lot out of this grant, and I'm hoping most of the money actually goes to the folks that are going to code and that are going to test whatever big delivery they have. I think my time is going to be minimal, but if we do say we're going to do water quality too, then I probably have to think about the staff member that will be testing that too. But I'll let you know, Melinda.
Okay, thank you.
If that's really going to be the case, then maybe I think we're just only thinking about 40 hours a month. I think that's minimal. And that's probably not even, well, we're not even including like if we have to present or talk about what we're developing. I'm on several tribal partnership groups, and they probably would be excited to hear, this tribal partnership and what we're trying to do. I think it'd be good product demo and also good project report out too.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually it'd be awesome if there was a network of tribal auditors, both just data assessors as well as on-site auditors. So yeah, well, that's all we had. So if you want to come to office hours on Thursday, I know Crystal Black will be sending out a reminder, and I'll be available to talk, more specifically, demonstrate some things in QREST. And email or text me or Mike or Chris or Doug anytime. We really, really appreciate being able to work with you. It's an honor and it's super fun, honestly. So thank you all and talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chris. Bye.